Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for waiting for me. Okay. First of all, two things. I was told to say this before each year, that the reason that we're able to study these high, lofty concepts is only because the Baal Shem Tov had special permission to reveal these high, holy things in order that we should connect more to Hashem, daven with better kavanah, do mitzvahs with better kavanah, connect better. This is exactly what this year is all about, and not for any other reason. We're only doing this, and we only have special permission to do this only al derech havodah, as Rabbi Morgenstern always says. It has to be done. Any Jewish mysticism can only be done al derech ha'avodah, in order to increase in your avodas Hashem. We have to keep that always in mind. That's number one. Number two, tonight is a very special night. Anybody know what? Rav Noson's Yurtzeit. It's Rav Noson's Yurtzeit. So I don't want to, starting a little late, so I don't want to speak too much off topic, but I just do want to say briefly that we have to have tremendous akarsa tov to Rav Noson, because he was the main Talmud of Rav Nachman, and he is the one that preserved kimat all of the Torah. Even though there were Talmidim before him, but when he came, he was coming from the Barditchever. He was by the Barditchever from Levi Yitzchak Ben Sarasasha from Barditchev, the Kedushas Levi. He was a Talmud of the Barditchever, and he was not, believe it or not, I don't know what that means, because the Barditchever was like, wow. But he was not getting what he needed, whatever that means. And he actually left the Barditchever when he met Rav Nachman. And when he met Rav Nachman, he was like, this is what I've always been looking for. And in the end, the entire Breslev Chasidus that we have set up today is all set up through him and the way that he understood it. And he was definitely the closest Talmud to Rav Nachman. And Rav Nachman said, without him, we wouldn't have anything. In other words, he is the one that put together the whole Likutei Moharan. And he went over all the Rebbe said over the Torahs orally, and he wrote them down. And then he checked what he wrote with the Rebbe, and the Rebbe made corrections. And then anything he heard, when he heard the stories that Rav Nachman started at the end of his life, started telling stories, he recorded all the stories exactly the way Rav Nachman said them, as best as he could. And he wrote a sefer called Shemas HaTzadikim. Rav Nachman said to say the names of tzadikim brings geula to the world and brings the Yeshua, and if you need a Yeshua, you should say the names of the tzaddikim. So he took that and he went through the whole Tanakh and the whole Chazal and the whole Yerushalmi and Bavli and Medrash and Sifra and Sifri and Zohar, you name it. And he put together a whole sefer called Shemas HaTzadikim that a person should say in order to bring down massive hashpah from Hashem and bring Yeshuas. And then Rav Nachman told him he should write his own Torah, so he wrote a massive, many volume set called Likutei Halachos, which is the Shulchan Aruch al Pi Kabbalah and Chasidus. Can you imagine? Every single siman of Shulchan Aruch, he explains according to Kabbalah and Chasidus. There was never such a thing, and everything is based on the Likutei Moharan. So I don't want to go too much off topic. There's a fantastic book called Through Fire and Water on the biography, the life of Rav Noson. It's a big, thick book. It's a fascinating book. And this person went through real Gehenna, and he was against the whole world, and everybody wanted to do away with him. And Baruch Hashem, he pushed through and persevered, and he made Breslov what it is today. So, Zechisoy Yogan Aleinu Kol Yisrael. Actually, here in Kahal Yiraim, there is going to be a Suda tonight. We're going to be davening Marav at 9:30, which is soon, and there is going to be a Suda im Yotz Hashem for Rav Noson. Okay, let's get into it. So we left off on page Kuf Pei. And I'll tell you, we're on the second paragraph on Kuf Pei. Okay, and in the middle, and this is what it says. V'sidru lanu. Now, what we were talking about is we were talking about the four worlds, the four spiritual worlds. There's many worlds, there's billions of worlds, but there's four main spiritual worlds, which are Atzilus, going from up to down. Atzilus, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. Asiya is our world, our low physical world. That is what this parak, Shar Base, Esser Spheres, that's what this parak, this Hagdama test, this is what this is all about. So, okay, page Kuf Pei, in the middle, second paragraph. V'sidru lanu kadmonenu, Seder Tfilas Shacharis B'chol Yoim. This is fascinating what he's going to say now. He says that the Chazal was actually the Anshe Knesses Hagadoila. They put together the Seder of Tefillah, of Shacharis. They were the ones that set up Shacharis that is in the form that we daven today. And it says, Al derech hadalad oilamas halalu. They based the tefillah of Shacharis, the morning prayer, based on these four worlds. And he's going to explain, Ba'oifen halicha madrega lemadrega. That when a person davens Shacharis in the morning, he is passing from below to above, one level to the next higher level. Ke'ein she'nechnasin laheichal melech basar v'dam. Just as if we are entering the palace of a physical king, a flesh and blood king. That we start off in the outside of the palace and we move into the palace, to the interior. As we get more and more to the interior of the palace, there you get into more, you see more of the majesty of the palace. The same works, this mashal of a king in a palace is a mashal to the five higher worlds. He's going to explain. Ki malchusa dirakia ke'ein malchusa da'ara. This expression comes from, I think it's a Gemara as well. It might also be in the Zohar. And what it means is the upper kingdom, the kingdom in Shemayim, is like the kingdom down here on this world. What is that? In other words, it's a reflection. Our kingship down here is a reflection of the kingship up in Shemayim. What does this mean? He's going to explain. Okay, so let's read the next paragraph on the next page on Kuf Pei Aleph. The Seder Tefillah b'chol oilam v'oilam, the Seder, the order of the Tefillah in every single world, who kedei lasos hatikun hashayach b'makom hahu. The reason that we daven the way we daven is in order to make a tikkun, a fix. We fix certain things in Shemayim when we're davening. Hashayach b'makom hahu v'lachein yale b'machshavtoi beis tefillah ki'ilu hu boikea avirim v'rakim. Therefore, when a person davens, he should have in mind that at the time that he is davening, he is breaking through avirim v'rakim. Avir means air. He's breaking through space, and rakiim. A rakia is like Shemayim is called a rakia. He's breaking through different levels of Shemayim, of the heavens. Umala nishmasam me'olam el olam al zeh ha'ifan. And he brings his neshama from one world to the next world, going up al zeh ha'ifan in this way. And now he's going to explain. Now at this point, what we're going to do is we are going to there's a big note here that we're going to do. Yud Aleph. Well, let's go back to page Kuf Pei on the right side. Okay, so till now we're reading in the middle. Now we're going to read on the right side of the middle. The one that starts about halfway down, called Yud Aleph. Does everyone see that? Malchusa Da'ara? Okay, Malchusa Da'ara. So what we said is that the kingdom of the land down here, of the earth, is a reflection of the kingdom above. What does this mean? Kasov bezera kodesh. There's a very famous Hasidic sefer called Zera Kodesh. Zera Kodesh is from the very popular Hasidic Sfarim. It was written by the Ropshitzer Tzaddik, the Ropshitzer Rebbe. Just to get the context, the Ropshitzer Rebbe was a Talmud of the Chosef in Lublin. The Chosef in Lublin was the main Talmud of the Rebbe of Melech, Reb Eli Melech from Lezhinsk, who was considered from the main Talmud from the main Talmidim or the main Talmud of the Rebbe Ber the Mizrach Magid, who was the main Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov. That's who the Zera Kodesh, the Ropshitzer was. So it says, the Ropshitzer writes in Sefer Zera Kodesh, Sidru lanu kadmonenu b'tfilasenu. Our Chazal set up for us in our tefillas. Mitchila loymar pashas korbanos. How does Shacharis work? The way Shacharis works is, the first thing that we have in Shacharis is we have the korbanos. Okay? Unfortunately, a lot of us skip the korbanos, but I have news for everybody. The Anshe Knesset HaGedolah did not put it in there in order to be skipped. Sorry? Can you skip half of it? Well, a lot of people skip much more than half. A lot of people skip all of it, but we're going to explain why that is not the best way to go. And so he's saying that the first time, in the first part, after you say the brachas in the morning, and then you have a Kedas Yitzchak, then you get into the korbanos. That is the first part of Shacharis. V'achakach loymar shirois v'sishbachois lefanav mibarach shamar ad yishtabach. Then we get into the second section of the davening of Shacharis, which is from the tefillah of Baruch Shamar until Yishtabach. V'chakach, and after that, Mesaprim Yoitze Orev V'Yechoshech. Then we begin to tell the tale, so to say, of Yoitze Orev V'Yechoshech. Then after Baruch Hu, we start to say that Hashem forms light and Hashem creates darkness. Ve'ani Mesaprim Echa Malachim V'Srafim Mishabchim Oiso Yizburach Shemoy. And then we start to explain how the Malachim and Srafim, these are different kinds of angels, how they're Meshabeach Hashem in Shemayim. And that's called Birchas Kriya Shema of Shacharis. V'achar Mispalim Tefillah Shmona Esrei, and then we daven Shmona Esrei. Ki Malchusa, what is this all about? Why are we doing this? What are these four parts of the Shacharis davening? Ki Malchusa Durakia Ke'ei Malchusa Da'ara, because the kingdom of Shemayim is just like the kingdom on the earth. Listen to this. If a person down here wants to go into the gateway of the king to ask requests, Ein lavoy el shar hamelech belevush sak. Okay, you are not. This expression actually comes from. Who can tell me where this comes from? It is related to Purim. What sefer? Megillas Esther, right? Mordechai is wearing the sackcloth because he knows through Ruach HaKodesh that Haman has done a terrible deal with Achashverosh and has offered to pay him a whole big sum of money for just the privilege of killing every single Jew in Shushan Abira and the surrounding lands. And basically, that was where all the Jews were. It was basically a death sentence on all the Jews. That's what the Mefarshim say. So Mordechai puts on a sack. It was common then. I once saw someone doing this by the Koisel, by the way. I once saw one of these guys saying Tillim by the Koisel. He was wearing actually a sackcloth from potato sacks. Anyway, there used to be a thing in the time of Chazal that when it was something very serious, people would actually wear sackcloth. There's even I think it's say for Yonah. I think it says that when in Nineveh, when Yonah said the Nevuah that Hashem is very upset with you, He's going to destroy you. Not only the people were sacked, they put sackcloths on the animals. I think it says that in read Sefer Yonah. I think so. So anyway, side point. Over there it says that Mordechai wanted to was in the Shar HaMelech, and it's not appropriate to be in the Shar HaMelech with a sackcloth. So then Esther tried to tell him to take it off. He didn't want to take it off. Okay, so he says. So going back to our point, Ein lavoyel Shar HaMelech b'levush sak. If you're going to appear before the king, you have to appear, in a nice suit, a clean suit. Your beard has to be combed, your hat has to be brushed, right? You can't show up in a sackcloth in front of the king. So he says, what does this mean? Mizuhamas avoinoisav mashechata umar neged hamelech. If a person has done rebellious deeds against the king, he can't show up that way. The king's not going to be happy to accept him and listen to his requests. So what if that's the case? If obviously this is a person that the king knows that he has rebelled against him. So the first thing is, if this person wants to appear before the king, he has to do tshuva, so to say, and he has to get a kapara from the melech. He has to get forgiveness from the melech on the sins that he's done against the melech, on the whatever he has done against the laws of the land and the laws of the king. The first thing is, if he wants to do anything, he has to get the melech, the king, to forgive him. That's number one. And then after that, okay, so the king sends a message, I forgive this and this person. Then when he goes in actually to see the king, it's not proper as soon as you get into the throne room to start to ask your requests. That's not proper. That's not the way it's done. It's not the etiquette. Rather, you come and you say, how is your highness doing? You start by asking how he is, and you start to sing his praises. You start to praise the king. That's how you begin. And once you've done that, Meshabeches kol ha'inyanim shara bechatzerim shalamelech I begnazov, and then you start to say, first you're talking to the king about himself personally, and then you start to talk about, wow, I just walked through your palace, and how beautiful your palace is, and how beautiful the furniture is, and how beautiful the tapestries are, and then I walked through your silver and your gold, and you start praising all these things. And the servants of the king hear how this individual is praising the king. So everyone hears he's making a big scene. He's making a big scene that he's praising the king. And then once you've set up this whole scenario, then it passes, then you can try to ask your request, and hopefully the king will listen to you. And this is how our tefillah Shacharis works as well. When we are approaching, you have to understand that when we're davening Shacharis every day, we are approaching the king. When the throne room is the Shemon Esrei. That is the throne room. So how do we start? So first of all, we're all guilty, right? None of us can say we're all tzaddikim. Who can say that? We've all made mistakes. Some bigger, some smaller, but we've all made mistakes daily. So the first thing is that when it was a king of flesh and blood, the first thing is you have to get the king to forgive you. So that is why we start off Shacharis with korbanos, because korbanos means to be mechaper, that Hashem forgives. We are makriv korbanos. We give sacrifices in order to get a kapara, a forgiveness, an atonement from Hashem. That's why korbanos is very important in the morning. The first thing. Then you graduate to the next level of the tefillah called Pesukei de Zimra, and that is giving praises to Hashem. So when you think about it, you think about, where does that start? That starts by Baruch Shamar. Well, by Svard, really you could probably say it starts by Hoidu, and Mizmor Shir Chanukah Sabayis LeDavid, Baruch Shamar, Mizmor L'Soida. Then we start saying we say Yichvod and the Halalukas. All this stuff is basically coming from Tehillim, and it's all Tehillim is all praises of Hashem. So that's the second level, that we start praising the king. I lost my place. Yes, the Achakach beYoitze Or me'inyan Chatzeroisav v'Shevach HaMalachim shemeshabchim Mefarin Oisla Yizborach Shemoy. Then you start talking about the next level of Hashem's palace. What does that mean? That Hashem, He forms light and He creates darkness, and you start to talk about what's going on Kaviyachol in the world where Hashem is, in His domain, and you start to talk about the Malachim, the angels that serve Him in His domain. That's the next level of Shevach, of praising Hashem. The Ayin Sham Mamshech lebar inyan al derech avoda b'tikkun midas. And look over there in Sefer Zera Kodesh, where the Rapshitzer explains all this in the derech avoda, in the derech of avodas Hashem, how to serve God with this derech b'tikkun midas, and through fixing your midas, your character traits. Okay, v'chein hizber. Also, in a sweet way, the Sefer Me'or V'Shemesh explains also. Who was the Me'or V'Shemesh? Is actually the Me'or V'Shemesh and the Rapshitzer. I'm sure they probably knew each other because they were both Talmidim at the same time of the Chosef and the Blin, both from the greatest of the Talmidim, from the Heilige Chosef and the Blin, who was the Talmud of the Rebbe of Melech, who was the Talmud of the Rebbe of Ber, the Mizracher Magid, who was the Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov. So what does it say? And also Me'or V'Shemesh is even more commonly learnt by Chassidim, even more than Zera Kodesh, in my opinion. And it's a very, very popular Chassidish sefer. It's very kedai to try to get a hold of one, try to learn it and understand it. What does it say there? Shekodesh Baruch Hu bara Olamois Atzilas Bria Yitzira Asiya. Hashem created 4 Olamois, Atzilas Bria Yitzira Asiya. V'tzrichin ani liyachet ha'olamois mitata le'ela. The avoida of Klal Yisrael is to unite those 4 worlds, going from the bottom up. To unite the Yitzira to, the Asiya to Yitzira, Yitzira to Bria, Bria to Atzilas. And Atzilas unites to Adam Kadmon, and it just keeps going to Ein Sof, keeps going. He continues. V'tzrichin anu liyached ha'olamois mitata le'ela. Sorry, I said that already. V'yedei korbanos niskarvu v'nisyachadu ha'olamois v'ata tefila hi b'makom korban. So he says this is why it's so important to start Shacharis and Mincha, by the way, with korbanos, because you have to understand. He says an interesting thing here. The main avoida when the Beis Hamikdash was standing was what? What was the main avoida of Klal Yisrael? Korbanos. It was korbanos. It wasn't. Today we're very, very busy with davening, and of course they davened also. But you have to understand the main avoid of Klal Yisrael was korbanos, was bringing the korbanos, and doing tshuva. And because of you did tshuva, you brought the korban, and then they slaughtered the whole thing. What does that mean that you slaughter an animal? Why is that an atonement? This is deep, deep stuff. But basically the korbanos was the whole thing of the Beis Hamikdash was korbanos. That's what it was, and that was the whole void of Klal Yisrael. The Kohanim, the Leviim were singing when this was happening. That was what the Leviim were doing. And the Kohanim were shechting them, were slaughtering the korbanos, and the Yisraelim were bringing them, and it was a whole thing. That was what we were very, very busy with this when the Beis Hamikdash was standing. Unfortunately, when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, we could no longer bring korbanos. We are not allowed. So what do we do instead of korbanos? We daven. And that's why the korbanos is such an important part of davening, because davening is really only a replacement of the korbanos. So literally, the korbanos is the part of davening korbanos. That's really what it's all about. So that's why it's so important before Shacharis and Mincha to say korbanos. We're going to say Kabbalistic reasons why it's important to say korbanos. This is just on a simple level. Validei korbanos niskarvu v'nisyachdu ha'ilamos. Through the korbanos in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, the worlds became close together and united. The atat tefillah hi b'makoim korban. So the Mohayla Gemara of Hashem says, and today our tefillah, our davening, replaces the korban. So in the times of Beis Hamikdash, how did the worlds unite and come together and link together? Through korbanos. Today we don't have korbanos, so the way that we get the worlds to link together and join is through davening, which is instead of korbanos. The last paragraph, the Chachamenu Zal Sidru Lanu Seder Tefillah Miseder Habrachas Ad Tefillah Shemoneh Esrei, and our Chachamim put together for us a Seder of Tefillah from the brachas in the morning until Shemoneh Esrei. That's the first part of Shacharis, right? Till after Shemoneh Esrei. The Issa B'Kisrei Arizal, and it's brought down in the writings of the Arizal. She'ad Baruch She'amar Nikra Tfilas Asiya. Oh, it's some Sidurim. You do have Sidurim with a more Kabbalistic bend will actually write on the Korbanos, on top of the section of Korbanos, they will write Tfilas Ha'asiya, because Korbanos is Keneged, the world of Asiya. Baruch She'amar Ad Birchas Yoitzer Or, the second part of the Tefillah, from Baruch She'amar until Yoitzer Or, Nikra Tfilas HaYitzira, that is called the Tefillah of Yitzira, of the second world, going from bottom to up. Ubirchas Yoitzer Or Ad Kriya Shema, and from the brach of Yoitzer Or until Kriya Shema, he Tfilas Habriya, this is called Tfilas Habriya, of the third world. Umi Kriya Shema Ad Shemoneh Esrei, hu he Tfilas Ha'atzilis. And from Kriya Shema until the Shemoneh Esrei, this is called the Tefillah of Atzilus. What time is it, please? It's almost 9:30. Okay, so let's keep. Okay, so let's start like this. There's so much to be said here. Let's start, because at 9:30 they're going to daven Marav, but we need to start. The system, the system that's happening here is as follows. Are they starting? They're starting Marav right now?
They're just wrapping up.
They're wrapping up. Okay, let's do whatever we can do, because we started late. As soon as they need us for minyan, we will come. The way that the system works is as follows. We had spoken before that there are netzoitzes. We spoke about before that there was something called shviras hakelim, which meant it was an intentional break, that Hashem intentionally broke the world, and sparks fell. And those sparks fell actually some of them fell to very, very, very low, dark places. Now when I say low and dark, what do I mean? So they started off in Atzilus, the sparks fell to the next level down to Bria, then to the next level down to Yitzira, then to the next level down to Asiya, which is our world, and then under Asiya. Can you imagine? The underworld. Okay, and this is, now, you got to be careful, because it's not a physical description, even though it sounds physical. But let me just work with the mashal first, and then we'll talk about the nimshal. The mashal is, sorry? Somebody what? Is it, we're being summoned? We're being summoned for Marav. Okay, so gentlemen, to be continued next week, Im Yirtzeh Hashem. Everyone should try to learn a little bit of a story from Rav Nachman tonight, or or Likutei Maran or Likutei Halachos or something, because it's a very big yurtzeit tonight of Rav Nosson.